Alright, question 0. How has the first year of Rambo Year 1's release been so far? Wallace writes, in terms of pure numbers, it's going normal. Around 1,000 to 1,500 downloads in 5 months. But you have to consider that nowadays, a keyword like Rambo is not enough to be found on the internet. Don't I know that one, Wallace? Don't I know that one? He goes on to say, the golden age of the internet is over from a long time. And nowadays, there's so much stuff out there that anything needs to be advertised. And everything's so cool as the only existing Rambo prequel. But being this is a free share project, I prefer to spend my very limited budget to translate it, rather than advertising for it. Which I think, Wallace, is a very good thing to do. Wallace continues. The extremely positive and unexpected surprise was the reader's feedback. Let's say it's straight. Before reading Year 1, no one thinks that any Rambo prequel could be any good, and the fact that it can be read for free makes people think that I am just crazy fan, not a real pro. People are really ready to destroy or plainly hate Year 1, and they are, end up going crazy for it. I can agree with that. There is a lot of haters out there, Wallace. Wallace continues, and I am talking about journalists too. Lindsey Johns is a cultural columnist. Art is his business, really. The critical acclaim I am receiving is unbelievable. It's a dream coming true. I mean, when a BBC commentator says that your story is infinitely fascinating, you can be happy even if you did everything for free. And I do, and I am happy. I feel like so far I have won. Now I only have to make the next 5 novels better than the first, which is a goal I know I can accomplish. I can do it, and I will. You can bet on that. Year 1 has started my career. Very fascinating. Very fascinating. I'm proud of you, Wallace, man. This is a true feat of engineering when you get down to it. Having, to write your story and then, out of love, nonetheless. And then, I've come across this battle myself many times with projects I'm working on. I'm always thinking ahead to the next one and to the next one and to the next one. So I can understand that that foreground of and appreciate, you got 5 or 6 novels in advance, and that love to keep going. Not only that, but you're writing it for free, and not only that, but you're translating it for next to free too, and giving it away for free. So you're paying it forward in a way to the fan base, which is what you are to begin with, a fan paying it forward to the other fans. And I really appreciate what you're doing here, because Wallace is one of the few, I would say the few people out there who actually will stick to that vision, and have proved so far that they're ready to go the distance, so to speak, with such an endeavor. And hats off to you, buddy. This is just amazing stuff. Okay, question number 1. Let's get to it. What made you want to open the book from Barry's perspective, and what were your inspirations behind the Apache intro? Can you tell us about the origins and conceptions regarding this epic chapter? Wallace writes, writers shouldn't confess their secrets, but I am a ghostwriter, so who cares? Most writers begin their novels. Wallace, I too, like you, I'm always giving away my secrets. I want to try to keep them for me to make them work for me, but, I'm always letting the cat out of the bag. Anyway, back to Wallace here. He goes on to say, most writers begin their novels with the strongest pages they have, and then they restart the telling from the beginning. This is a pure marketing trick, but it works. Year 1 is a story about the why. It's about why Rambo wants to join the Special Forces, then Ortega Danforth, and so on. Beginning with one character or another wouldn't have changed the novel so much. So I put the most powerful episode in the beginning. By the way, David Morrell in person suggests that trick on his The Successful Novelist. So I took the Apache sniper character from a well-known actual episode, and I tried to feel the feelings that the actual people felt. I gotta tell you, man, Apache Sniper, that intro to the book, that will make you feel. That's such a haunting passage, and it's so well played out. And when you get into the book further, into the truth or fiction portion of the book, because the book is two-sided. It has the book, the novel on the first half, and the other half is a bunch of beautiful special features dealing with what was fact and what was fiction, the upcoming sequel, some history lessons, and a Colonel Samuel Troutman essay. And a very, very beautiful way this all came together here. So, where was I going with this? Oh, yes. So, you get to learn that these events were actually true. These things actually happen. If you don't believe us, you can go searching for it yourself on the internet. These were very well-known facts, what Apache was capable of doing and what Apache did. Probably the most hardcore woman in the Vietnam War. Made Vietnam a very scary place to be in. I would think if I was part of that whole thing back then, I think I would rather shoot. If I knew Apache was there, I would shoot myself in the foot than risk, even though there being millions of people over there, risk running into her in real life. Because it's no picnic. It's no picnic, as the review will tell you. So now we're going on to question number 2. Question number 2. In the bar, when Rambo's telling the kamikaze story, I found that it made Rambo feel a bit more relatably human, the calm before the storm, so to speak, the last burnt match of innocence. Why did you decide to go onto the monologue path for Rambo's moreover introduction? Sorry. Wallace writes, frankly, I don't know why I used a tell instead of a flashback. Maybe because in the beginning of my writing I had some problems in dealing with the Rambo character. Some kind of fear and respect for the most famous action character in the whole movie history of cinema. In my novel, Rambo is much younger than the one we saw on the big screen. As an example, now that I am 38, I feel myself very different from the way I was in my 20s. So my Rambo talks and is much more human than we are used to because, again, the book is about the why. In the next book, he will slowly become the person that we are used to. But the cool thing is seeing how he becomes it and why. I like this passage in the book because it kind of reminds me of the First Blood monologue at the end in a way. In the way that instead of him being a crime list, he's very much able to talk here. And it's a side of Rambo we don't really get to see. We get to see it a little bit in Morrell's First Blood. And Morrell's sequels, a tiny, tiny fraction of a bit. But we're not used to seeing Rambo from this perspective. So it was very cool, because Rambo does not get a lot of screen time in this. Or book time, I should say. So when he's there, the scenes that are played out, it's very much, how can I say? The scenes that he's in the book, it just made me kind of feel like, okay, well, why did you choose these scenes and these scenes? But they play out beautifully, and I can't wait to see what comes next. So let's go on to question number 3. Question number 3 is, I really loved Ortega's homecoming section when he comes home. The look at his shame for being able to love, where he has experienced mostly the intimacy of watching his friends die. That was also an element from the First Blood Part 2 novelization that I found very, this is unrelated, but that I felt very deep on, was Troutman's and Rambo's looks back to not being able to be intimate with people because, either sexually or in love, because you're so used to seeing the ones you love die, and there's nothing more intimate than trying to put your friend back together when he's been ripped apart or only pieces of him remain. So I'll go back to the question now. Yeah, I really loved Ortega's homecoming section. The look at his shame for being able to love, where he has experienced mostly the intimacy of watching his friends die. Almost like he feels like he doesn't deserve it. His dealings with his PTSD, as we hear from so many returning veterans, was it hard to fathom such an eerie premonition of what was yet to come? He feels very broken before he can really begin. What was it like writing that scene as well, seeing now you are originally a writer of horror? Was it fun to write his nightmare sequence? What was the origin behind such writings? So Wallace writes, well, actually Ortega's chapter was quite painful to write. I wrote it in one night when I was when I was tired and depressed, and yet it's one of the episodes I am most proud of because a real veteran told me he liked it very much. Also, it created some sort of paranormal writing episode. I write my books listening to a lot of music, and some of my pages are fixed with some songs. Me too, Wallace. I do that a lot, especially earlier on in my fan fiction days. I did that a lot. To write Ortega's first chapter, Wallace continues, to write Ortega's first chapter, I used Moby's Lacrimae. Search for it on YouTube. That track is so awesome that I just listened and re-listened to it until the Ortega's origin tale was over. I wrote my pages at night, and they talk about Ortega's struggling for sleep at night. Then, some months later, I read Moby saying in an interview that he wrote Lacrimae during a sleepless night. Whoa, I thought, double whoa. Double entendre. Writing is paranormal, It's not creating, it's creepy, it's a delirious seance. Take the nightmare scene inside Ortega's episode, for example. It was not funny to write, not art at all. In fact, it was quite the contrary. It was painful. Writing a novel is a very different process from writing a movie. The most important factor to produce a good piece of literature are your own feelings. If you are laughing for someone, the reader will laugh too. If you are suffering in the first place, the reader will suffer too. So to make the reader suffer or be scared, you have to suffer and be scared while writing it. All in all, this Rambo saga is one of the toughest things I ever wrote. During the last 2 novels in particular, in order to summon the necessary suffering, I really tried to destroy myself while writing. Self-consuming. A very good writing is self-consuming. That's a beautiful statement. Beautiful. Yes, I do agree when you write things from that more personal side, that side, that double side that's not in the main eye. It does. I find that these things do relate to people more, and there is a